Welcome to Agency Bytes, a podcast for agency owners, hosted by agency veteran and coach Steve Guberman. Agency Bytes is a podcast focused on delivering actionable agency information from agency experts in about 25 minutes. Why 25 minutes? Because who has the attention span for much more these days? And you can squeeze in a listen between meetings with time for a bathroom break or coffee refill before your next meeting.
Welcome to Agency Bytes, a podcast dedicated to helping creative entrepreneurs thrive. I'm Steve Guberman from Agency Outsight, where I coach agency owners to build the business of their dreams. This week, our guest is Dolores Hirschmann. She's an investor, strategist, and founder of Masters in Clarity. She spent her career helping service pros and thought leaders grow their businesses, and she's even sold one of hers to Pete Vargas and Grant Cardone after scaling it to 8 figures. A former TEDx organizer and expert in positioning, Dolores now offers fractional CMO services and helps businesses prep for profitable exits. I'm excited to dive in. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you, Steve, for having me.
Yeah. So, give your quick background on how you got into launching what your business is and where you are today.
Yeah, and I'll try to make it really brief. But in 1996, that's how old I am. I graduated from college, and my graduating paper was Marketing on the Internet, Relationship Marketing.
Wow.
Back in Argentina. And so since then, I've been an entrepreneur. I've started multiple businesses. I went back to school and became a coach. And all roads led to the same place, which is where I am today, which I believe that marketing is about human-to-human relationships. I believe that marketing can be powered and leveraged through technology, from digital marketing to AI tools, but at the last mile is human. And then the moment we forget that is we humans trying to serve other people with their products and services, the moment we forget that, it all falls apart.
Yeah. So even in today, the age of AI seems to be, the panic of AI and all that. It's still human to human, and I fully agree with that. But in 96, you were talking about human to human marketing relationships on the internet.
Yes.
That's mind blowing because it was still dial up in 96.
It was dial up. I was in Argentina, so I was one of 30 people connected to the internet in the world. In the country.
Wow.
Mine, as far as I know, or from the data I have from back then, was the only paper in Spanish on what to do with the internet as it relates to marketing. There were a lot of papers on the technical side. Like there have been many papers in AI on the technical side for the last 20 to 30 years, but it's not until that thing, in that case was the internet, that starts inching itself into the market, into mainstream, that you start doing the research of how does this affect this part of the industry. And so for me, literally was called in Spanish, marketing en internet, marketing de relaciones, marketing on the internet, relationship marketing. And my hypothesis was that back in the 80s or early 1900s, you would go to the butcher and they'll say, "Good morning, Dolores. Do you want another pound of ground beef from, as you did last week? Or are your kids coming for a visit? Do you want such and such?" Because they know you and they remember you. By the time I was writing this paper in 1996, the market has grown, but the capacity to connect with the market had not. Like the tools were not there. So back then, it was a marketing in Argentina, there was no there was no postal service that reliable. In the US, you had the things that they sent you in the mail, and they clocked your mailbox and all that. That didn't exist in Argentina. So it was phone calls, signage on the roads, and a flyer on the street. That's as far as marketing went, or getting to be seen.
Yeah.
So it was an interesting moment where I realized this is going to help us replicate that experience of the butcher knowing who I am and what I want through the technology. And within 2 years, Amazon came out in 1997, but by 1998, you would go to Amazon homepage. And I remember because I was having my first child and Harry Potter was launched, 1998, 1999.
Wow.
I was buying all the books, and you would go to the website, and Amazon would say, do you want to buy another Harry Potter, or the new Harry Potter is out, do you want to buy it? Because it would track the data and through technology would keep tabs of the type of customer you were and what you wanted.
Yeah. Amazing. What crazy evolution we've been through. That's mind blowing. So when did you come to America, and what was that evolution for you and, in your entrepreneurship journey here?
Yeah. So soon after that, I met my husband. He was a tourist in Buenos Aires. You're not supposed to date and marry the tourist. But he and I met December 96. We got married in 97. So by then I was here. It's going to be 28 years. And my actually, it's a funny story, but my first main job was with a nonprofit out of New York. It's called Nifty, NFT, still is out there. And they were launching what became the first online learning platform for high school kids.
Wow.
And the purpose was what they do is they teach kids how to start and run a business as a way to keep them engaged in school and out of trouble. And at the time, they had this project that was sponsored by Microsoft, specifically Jeff Reichs, which is number 5 under Microsoft. And they had this online or internet-based learning platform. And so they needed to hire a director. I was 26. I was very young, but they couldn't find anybody else who knew anything about the internet. So I became the director of one of the first online learning platforms geared towards kids back in 1998.
Wow. And how did you evolve that into kind of, developing, speaking for your business and thought leadership and meshes of clarity and next steps there?
So from there, I grew that project. We were reaching thousands of kids. When my third child was born, I quit because I was launching a new version of the software and having a baby. And I told my boss I can do both. I could have. I just didn't think I could. And so I focused on family, and my way of focusing on family was like I was focusing on the kids, and I started businesses. I started a clothing company. Then I started a school, an after-school program. We had a partnership with Rosetta Stone. We were teaching language to kids after school. And then at 38, I was lost. I didn't know what was next for me. Like my LinkedIn, and I did have LinkedIn, my LinkedIn looked like, those resumes was like, okay, I must have ADHD, which I do. But I had done a lot of things, and nothing really made sense.
Yep.
Now, looking back, it all made sense, but at the time it didn't. So I went back to school. I started coaching, leadership and team development coaching. And I became a coach, and I launched my coaching business. And I soon realized that while I loved working with people and helping them find their next version and all of that, I like more being a strategist for that next big idea. I love people with big ideas. And so in that self-exploration, I asked myself a question, which many of my clients, I encourage them to ask themselves, is like, what would I do for free all day long?
Mm.
And I believe that when we find the answer to that question, we will not only find joy in our work, but we will find financial abundance. And my answer was, I will hang out with people with really big ideas, and I will help them move those ideas forward. That's how I became a TEDx organizer. And I ran one of the largest TEDx events in the East Coast. And in doing that, I guess, like, if you give the mouse a cookie and, the next thing is like a domino. As I was doing that, I realized people that were doing great work were not necessarily great speakers. So I had to figure out, how do I help my speakers be succinct, clear, and engaging on stage? And that's how I started developing the framework that I now teach on how to write a signature talk. And that's brought me in.
Interesting. So you're organizing TEDx. People will come and say, "Yeah, I want to be a speaker," or you saw people speaking like, you shouldn't be on stage, or you're not ready to be on stage. And that led to, let's build a framework. Let's teach people to develop an engaging story, and built that up and sold it, or do you still run that?
Oh, so first of all, I'll make a clarification. When we were on running our TEDx, we specifically didn't look for great speakers. We specifically looked for people doing incredible work. And what I mean by that was, we had a surgeon who is still doing surgery of babies in uterus.
Wow.
We had another another doctor who back in 2015, 2016, who was 3D printing saline-based bone structure to do internal casts on bodies in at-risk places. So that's
Wow.
we were looking about. Another one that was tracking sharks. Like these were scientists and people who were doing crazy work that I want my community to learn about.
Right.
That's why because there might be a disconnect. How did you get a bad speaker on a TEDx stage? Because I wanted people who were working on ideas that were revolutionizing our life. They may or may not be great speakers. So we
Right.
turn them to that. And so
Yeah.
fast forward, I became the go-to person on helping people communicate effectively, whether it was on a TEDx stage or any other stage. And even myself, I have used speaking to grow my business all along. And the one thing that a speaker who's using speaking to grow the business lacks is opportunities to speak unless you do something about it. So I started building and learning how do I get myself on stages because speaker bureaus were not the answer. And many people listening to this will attest to that. Like speaker bureaus will place the most expensive speaker, which is like past presidents and movie stars. But they won't focus on placing you. And so I ended up building an outbound speaker agency for the little people like me, for the unknown experts. And that's what I ended up partnering with Pete Vargas and then Grant Cardone. And we built what now is called 10X Stages. And that was a business that went from 0 to about 20 million in record time.
Wow.
And yeah.
It's interesting jumping back to what you're describing as like not good speakers, but people that are doing amazing things. And when I look back over the history of TED Talks, and I think about some of the stories that I've seen in the earlier days, across the board, they've always been people that are doing amazing, amazing things. But in the earlier days, the presentations or the talks were not as engaging as they are today, or they started to become. And I wonder if that's part of the impact that you've had, or just how the idea of being a TED Talk, like maybe you've seen those kind of mockumentary talks about speakers of just use your hands and this kind of framework of how to be on a TED Circle stage, but the stories have remained remarkable, but the presenters have gotten more engaging and interactive. And so it is interesting to kind of think through the evolution of what that's looked like.
And I think a lot has to do, Steve, with the fact that when the TED stage first came about in the early 2000s, the concept of sharing a big idea in under 18 minutes was a very foreign concept. We were back then we were used to the hour-long presentation with a lot of PowerPoints and a lot of details. And that's fine, but it's not the right experience for every audience. And when you're really looking to convey a main idea, you don't need an hour. So the biggest thing that TED introduced to the marketplace was the power of shrinking your talk to a manageable amount of time. And so since that happened, we've had research and trainers and experts and a whole lot of experience and data to understand what makes a great short talk and what makes it engaging and clear, because clarity is a challenge for many, especially when you shrink the time.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, you have less time to do more with. Then how do you optimize that time? Yeah,
Which means which is a counterintuitive element to speakers, because speakers, and this is something I deal with a lot, is the more I tell you, the more I'm serving you. And the truth is, the more you tell someone while you're on stage, the more chances you have to confuse them.
yeah,
More is not
yeah.
more.
Yeah, I'm finding that now. I'm working on a workshop now, and I want to tell this, and I want to tell this, and this is really important, but I need to like hone it back and be like, pull it back a little bit, focus on going deeper, not wider. So yeah, there's a lot I can learn from you. Let's talk about speakers bureau for like the little people. listening, I think a big push is I want to get on stages. I personally want to get on more stages. Thought leadership is big, especially as we talk about more and more agencies wanting to lean into niching and niching into verticals. One of the best ways to show that expertise is get on more stages, and stages can be on screen or in person. Can you share some pointers on like what can people do today? Hang up this podcast and be like, I'm going to go and do X, Y, and Z because Dolores said do this to get on more stages. What are some of those things you can recommend?
First of all, get clear on your talk. Have a good talk title. Understand it's not about what you say, but it's about what the audience will walk away with. So be really clear on what are you bringing to people. Number two, get really clear who's your ideal audience, because speaking is great, but speaking to anybody will lead with whatever outcome, but not necessarily more clients for your business. So get
Right.
really clear is who's your ideal audience, which usually would match with your ideal client. Third, understand where do those people hang out. And I'll give you a tip. The best way to find out where your people hang out is to ask your people. So if you have clients, or if you have an email list of subscribers that follow you and listen to you and read your stuff, ask them, what podcasts do you listen to? What conferences or events, or where do you gather? They'll actually give you that answer. And then once you have that information, so who's your ideal audience and where do they hang out, then get clear on who's the gatekeeper of those stages. And you already said it. Stages right now in 2025 is virtual, is someone's living room. It's a old-fashioned stage. Like it could look like a lot of things. And so once you understand where those people hang out, like who organizes those events, and that's your first pitch, is you need to find those people. LinkedIn is a great resource. And send them a DM. But here's the trick. Send them a very short DM with a yes or no answer. Because human brain can't, like if you ask me something that I can respond in a yes or no, I'm almost compelled to answer it. Like it'd be hard for me not to, because ignoring you will be like I'm intentionally ignoring this. But if I can answer yes or no, I will actually do that. The biggest mistake, Steve, is that people send messages to event organizers or podcast hosts or whoever holds a stage, and they send a long message telling them their life story with all of their material. And what do I do with that? I don't. So what I send, and this is worth a lot of money. I'm going to give it to you. You send a message saying, "Hey, Joe, I see that you are the blah, blah, blah of this podcast or this event. Do you take outside speakers?" And if you're pitching a podcast, please be accurate and say, do you take outside guests or do you take guests? That's the right way to say it. That's it. Yes or no. So if it's a no, then it's a no. And thank you, bye, goodbye. And if it's a yes, even if they might not pick you, you now got a response and now you can have a conversation.
Yeah, I love that. I'll add to that. I think it's important to have had listened to the podcast because I've had people reach out to me and they're clearly not a good fit. They should not be on most podcasts, let alone my podcast. And I'm like, why are you reaching out to me? So listen to the podcast first. And then I love that idea of ask just a yes/no question. Open the door for a conversation. And and if it's a no, maybe there's even a door for a conversation as well. But yeah. So, and you're a firm believer, and as part of your practice, your business practice of thought leadership is a great way to grow a business, grow your expertise. You've had personal success in that area as well. What's your speaking journey?
Yeah. So thought leadership, I believe that especially in the service professional space where we are selling our expertise, usually it's high ticket offers. They need to know who you are. They need to know that they can trust you. Clients need to know that. And the best way to do that is to be in rooms with them, even if it's a Zoom. But access to you is a way to do it. And access to you one-on-one is neither profitable nor scalable, not the best way to grow. So making yourself available in other people's stages or other people's Zoom rooms, and show up and answer questions. Like, yes, have your talk, be prepared, but be willing and able to be just there and able to answer questions on spot.
Yeah, I love that. So let's say they say, yes, we're accepting speakers. I put together kind of what my pitch is, the topic. Now, shoot, I've got to actually get on the stage. One of the things that you help massively and magically with is creating a high converting signature talk. I mean, is that the same as a keynote? Is it the same as a presentation? Is that different? Like, what's the definition there for you?
So for me, any talk is the same. Keynote or presentation, they're all different contexts or length of time. But I believe that the structure of a presentation is always the same, in the sense that what I teach is 7 steps to engage an audience. Now, if you're in a boardroom and you're giving a quarter report, obviously there's going to be a lot of focus on data and details and going down rabbit holes. But you still have to honor the psychology of an audience, which is you need to engage them in the forefront, then going what I call the meat and potatoes, whatever it is that you're there to do, and then close the meeting, close the presentation in a powerful way. So what does that look like? I call it the paint by number way of writing a presentation or a talk. And it's like, start by making them care. Like, start by making your audience care about what you're about to say. You could call it a hook. It could be a question. It could be a story, but there's a strategy for that. Then talk about what you're going to talk about. Like, what is it that you're there to say? But this is like 30 seconds. It's not about talking about the thing. It's about giving you a high level of what is going to happen in our time together. Then talk about yourself, like introduce yourself. Even if you are in an internal team meeting or you're presenting quarter report, then talk about the experience you've had in that quarter. Like, there's something about sharing your human experience in the work you're about to present that builds trust and credibility. Then in step number 4 is when you go into what I call the meat and potatoes. I always say that's a point where you can make this talk like an accordion. Like, that can be 3 hours if you are doing a workshop. That could be 10 minutes,
right.
But that's 70% of your time on stage or in front of the room. And then you start closing. So you remind your audience of what you've been talking about. You guide them to imagining what is the future hold, what is possible if you implement the teaching or if, realize the projections, and then call to action. Obviously, if you are in a high converting talk scenario, the 7th step is probably the most important, because I always say, what is the best outcome of a good first date? A second date. And you will not have a second date if you don't get their phone number.
Yeah. So it's interesting, and I lost count, but I trusted that's 7. But so midway through the meat and potatoes, and then you're kind of reinforcing what you've spoken about and the benefits. And again, I'm applying that to a presentation, a workshop that I've given, and I'm refining over time. And I'm like, yeah, check. I've done that. And I feel good about that. That last part, like, what are some tips for? All right, I'm on a stage. Let's say I'm an agency owner. Let's say I'm niched in manufacturing, or I'm at a manufacturing networking group or something like that, and talking about the benefits of marketing. Do I just say, hey, if you want a free consultation, here's my calendar link, or scan this QR code from the presentation? Like, what are some of those hooks to get the second date?
So right before you say that, you invite them to imagine a future where your marketing works. So something like, what would be possible for your manufacturing company if you can have a waiting list of orders? Or what would be possible if you have your work mapped out 6 months in advance? Whatever, right? That is possible for you, as it was for all of my clients in the past. And if you want to, and this is where you give them a reason to connect with you. I don't love a free consultation. Free consultation is our goal, but first of all, don't give a Calendly from stage, because nobody can be listening to you and finding time in your calendar at the same time. Right. It's like it needs a high functioning mental space to book something in a calendar. So don't do that. Right. I typically advise my clients to give a free resource that ties with what you just talked. And so If you're a marketer in a manufacturing business and you specialize in manufacturing, marketing for manufacturing companies, and you say, here's 5 things that any manufacturing business must have in order to create a solid pipeline. And just give me your name and your email and phone number, and I will send it to you. One of the other tricks that I share, and again, this is what I share in many of my trainings, is when you have your slide deck, which I encourage people to always have a slide deck, not to do death by PowerPoint or to write on the deck what you're saying, but to have an image or one word that anchors whatever you're saying. So if you're doing that, then keep a QR code on the bottom right of your screen. Because people see a QR code and they are tempted to find out what it is. And so now you're promoting your free resource from the moment one. And then you
love that
at the end.
Oh, that's a good one. I love that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's
super helpful.
And it's not in the way. It's better than mastersinclarity.com because you don't have to type anything. And we live in a world where you see a QR code, you want to know what's behind it. It's like curiosity.
Codes left and right these days. Yeah. I love it. So, all right, agency owners, you've got to get on stage. You've got to build your pitch. You've got to reach out to people. Those 7 components, I guess you'd call them, of a good talk. I love that. Where can people learn more? mastersinclarity.com, I would imagine.
Yes.
Yeah. I'll put that in the show notes. I think there's a lot of valuable information. And you offer workshops for people to build this process for themselves, to become thought leaders, to get on more stages, to have better, more impactful talks and things like that. So mastersinclarity.com is the place to get that information.
Yes, we offer every 2-3 months we open enrollment and we do 8-week workshops live with me. And we also do it. I do it one-on-one, and I love that work. And we also have a software that we have our participants can test and then use. We have a lot of people using our software to get booked.
That's amazing. Okay, we'll have to check that out. I'm going to wrap up with 3 random rapid fire questions that I love doing just because why not? So the first is, what's a weird talent or party trick that you have?
I'm a tap dancer.
My fiance is a tap dancer. That's amazing. Do you actively still dance?
I haven't danced for a while.
Okay. What's a piece of advice that you ignored and wish that you hadn't?
Always listen to my gut. No,
same. Yeah. And then finally, what's something that you've changed your mind about in business in the last year?
In the last year, I've realized that to buy businesses, I don't need money. And I just bought a business and I'm buying another one.
Congrats to you. Congrats to them. That sounds exciting. Dolores, thank you so much for joining us. Folks, check out mastersinclarity.com. Really appreciate you joining us and sharing your expertise with everybody.
Thanks again for tuning in to Agency Bytes. If you know someone with expert knowledge on a topic that agency owners would love to hear about, go to agencyoutsight.com/podcast-guest and nominate them.